is here for you.
Hi, my dear Astro family. So today we are going to be talking about the upcoming lunation, which is a new moon in the sign of Gemini. It is taking place on the 26th or the 27th of May. Europe is more 27th actually, and it is going to be on 6 degree of the sign of Gemini. But before we dive into it, I would like you to consider joining my YouTube membership program, for example. You can get additional videos, weekly forecasts, breakdowns for the 12 signs. Depending on the tier that you choose, you get even webinars as well. Last week, for example, I prepared altogether a 3 hour, more than 3 hour actually, more than 3 hours, a breakdown of the weekly energy pattern, as well as, of course, a breakdown for the 12 signs. Let's get started. So this is a new moon, as mentioned earlier. It's on 6 degree of Gemini, and this is a nice new moon. I think we had quite a challenging one last month, and then now finally we've got something nicer. This new moon is actually creating a mini grand trine with the outer planets. So we love it, right? And actually, one of the tightest aspects that this new moon is going to have a trine to Pluto, but it is also making a conjunction to Mercury. We've got some asteroids involved here. One of them is Hidalgo in the sign of Sagittarius. It is in square to Persephone, which is actually an exact in the sign of Pisces. So I will break that down for you step by step, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to be giving you a short overview for all 12 signs also. So a new moon is about planting the seeds, but also because we have got the sun and the moon in conjunction, the sun purifies the moon. So this is an emotional restart. This is a rebirth. Of course, it means that something needs to be left behind, and we're going to have to open the doors for new possibilities. Now, it is happening in the sign of Gemini, which is a double-bodied sign. You can imagine the Gemini, this is kind of like a forgotten meaning of Gemini, kind of like the good or the bad witch, the wicked witch, and the great witch type of archetype. So often Gemini is going to talk to us about having to make choices, which way to go. And remember, the coin has got two sides. And we're going to have to flip the coin. We're going to have to sometimes just listen to our intuition, and that's the moon. Or am I going to be listening to my logical self? And there could be a bit of a debate there. But of course, that coin has got two sides. Are you looking at both sides of the coin, or you are just seeing what you want to see? And that's going to be also super important with this new moon. Of course, Gemini is the sign of communication. So we're going to have to be communicating in new ways. We're going to have to be expressing our thoughts or processing information or finding new ways of learning and integrating knowledge. But also, how we get around the city, how we connect with our siblings and neighbors, that could be popping up for you also as questions. Now, of course, we've got Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, we've got the new moon in Gemini, we've got Mercury also in the sign of Gemini as well, which is the dispositor of this new moon. So there is a lot of mental energy here. And it looks like with Pluto, we're going to have to find the mental power, potentially to express our feelings. I think also because we've got Mercury pretty close, it's around 2 degree of Gemini. It shows that we potentially want to talk about something. We want to communicate about our feelings, about our ideas, but maybe there is a bit of a hesitation though, because Pluto is retrograde, even though with a trine, this is a researcher's mind. And when we don't have the confidence to speak about our feelings, we might start looking for ways or we are collecting more information because there is a bit of a hesitation there before we actually open our own mouth. Now, with having Pluto in the picture, often actually this is an like it intensifies things. So here it's going to be intensifying the way we communicate. We might be talking about power, we might be talking about money or wealth, even psychological issues as well. But Pluto is the healer. And especially with the Pluto retrograde, we can now release something, potentially releasing communicational blockages. Because this is a new moon. And as mentioned earlier at the beginning of the video, it gives us the opportunity to plant the seeds. So have a look at what ideas you've got. Have a look at how you can form new connections. And of course, Pluto is those empowering connections, those big guns, basically, in a way. And maybe I want to be empowered by my friends, or Pluto in the sign of Aquarius is kind of like this genius, brilliant, huge idea that eventually you can make money and wealth out of. Pluto represents wealth in the chart. But the Gemini new moon says to you that you're going to have to be light. You're going to have to be a little bit more adaptable. Also possible that the mind is a little bit all over the place. This is where Saturn sextile could come into the picture, who just recently moved into the sign of Aries. And it is making a almost exact sextile to Mercury. So it says, okay, ground your thoughts a little bit, but also um, you have to be calm. You have to be patient. You have to come up with a plan. You have to be a little bit more methodical. You're going to have to kind of tame that restless mind here. So therefore, this could really talk to us about having to write down our thoughts because the mind is racing, writing down our own ideas and so forth, because we can have plenty of those. Pluto in Aquarius says that changes come through innovation, through the expression of the authentic self, through making changes. It looks like that's going to be the first step. Now, as mentioned earlier, we do have got Persephone actually in the sign of Pisces on 6th degree, and it makes an exact square to this new moon. And Persephone can represent letting go of something. This is the asteroid of death and rebirth, the journey between the conscious and the subconscious mind. So it is somehow telling me that there is something within your subconscious connected to old patterns, old beliefs, old maybe religious or spiritual kind of like belief systems that you need to be able to say goodbye to. And in order for you to say goodbye to something, you're gonna have to be exploring the psyche. You're gonna have to be exploring the hidden aspects of your life as well. Also, I mentioned to you that we have got Hidalgo, which is on 8th degree of Sagittarius. And Hidalgo represents something that is unconventional. It is a rebellious asteroid, and also it represents independence as well. But we've got an opposition here. So this is the push and pull, pushing one's opinion onto another. And then the Gemini new moon says with Pluto that we're going to have to do a bit of a research on that. Hidalgo also represents having to break away from something. So we have been potentially very opinionated. We have had certain type of ideology. That ideology might not be working anymore. And then Pluto retrograde says that we're going to have to be able to review those. We're going to have to be able to uh, do a deep introspective research element so that where does that come from? Where is that belief system originates from? What is the root of it? Now, when you look at that, we've got this dispositor, which is Mercury. Now, Mercury conjuncts Hygia and Sedna. Now, let's talk about Hygia first. So, Hygia entered the sign of Sagittarius on the 21st of May. And it is pretty much making a conjunction um, to the new moon, of course. But what's also super tight is Sedna with Mercury. So basically, we've got a triple conjunction happening pretty much around 0 to 1 degree, 0 to 2 degree of Gemini. And of course, it is a huge emphasis on that. And it looks like that what we have to be working with is to become more conscious. And being conscious, is that good for us? Is this healthy for us? What do I do with the piece of information that I just gained recently? Hygia is very much connected to prevention and also something to do with medical fields as well. So, how to prevent sanity, how to prevent ourselves from getting any type of negative thoughts, for example, how to be able to, because often what happens is that we are just worried, we are overthinking. We've got Jupiter also in the sign of Gemini as well. So we can be thinking quite a lot. And maybe we have got these, the bad and the good between us, like the wicked witch and the good witch within us is discussing a lot of things. And it could lead to certain type of little, conflict and tension between our consciousness and subconsciousness. So yeah, potentially this could talk to us about like mundane wise that there is going to be a lot of talk about how technology is affecting our lives or certain type of waves and radio waves and so forth. So that's also very possible. Now, of course, Gemini is a very fast moving sign. So often things are happening very fast in our life. And this is the reason why the tendency to make, the bad choice is actually super possible. And Hygia is trying to kind of like prevent from us. Now we've got Sedna there, and Sedna represents sinking. So Hygia is trying to prevent from us from sinking the tank, sinking the ship somehow. And that's why potentially Saturn is also in the picture, who's making that sextile. And it says, make sure that you make a calculative move. Now, I would also say that, sometimes the problem is that because everything is happening super fast in our lives, and it kind of like makes us, worried. We are unable to catch up with that fast moving world. So basically, Hygia in the sign of Gemini is asking us to practice mental health care. And it is telling us that we're going to have to choose our questions really carefully. We don't need to ask millions of questions. We have to ask the right questions. That's also a message with Saturn and Mercury sextile as well. And because this is a sextile, it is giving us the opportunity to be able to ask those right questions. But this is a mental health combination. So you're going to have to be able to work to preserve your mind, to preserve your brain. So doing some, exercises to keep ourselves kind of fit in a way, mentally fit, is going to be super important. And I would also say that, yeah, sometimes maybe this Hygeia in the sign of Gemini with Saturn combination wants us to switch off the phone or not sleeping with the phone or not necessarily, I don't know, listening to music or watching film while we are sleeping because the brain is unable to rest. The other thing that actually pops into my mind is that maybe with Hygeia, are we focusing on the negatives or are we focusing on disappointment and so forth? Or can we actually focus on the good things as well in life? The reason why we might be focusing on the bad things because we have got Sedna in the picture as well. And Sedna, she was a little bit of a spoiled child, and then she got given away to an evil crow. The father didn't know that this person was evil. They got married, but anyway, he figured out that Sedna, I mean, she is with the wrong person. So he tried saving her. And but this evil crow brought them like thunder and so forth. So eventually the father killed his own child. So she got betrayed again. pretty much twice. And but she became a sea goddess. She became kind of like a dolphin and so on. So her life completely turned around. She figured out what her path was. So what it kind of like tells me is that we might be focusing on the bad things, but maybe we need to be looking at the other side of the coin as well. Things happen to us because we might not be at the right time, at the right place, or there is a better opportunity out there. But when mentally we are not at the right place, what is going to happen? You are just going to be dwelling on that pain that I don't know, I didn't get the job offer and so forth. And then you are not looking for a better opportunity, but actually there is something better out there. So this is, I think, the scenario that I'm pretty much picturing with this Mercury, Sedna, and Hygia triple conjunction. Now, Hygia will remain in the sign of Gemini until the 31st of August, and then she is going to move into the sign of Cancer. Um, and then Hygia is going to go retrograde in the sign of Cancer, and then it's going to be coming back into the sign of Gemini towards the end of the year. So this is going to be a little bit of a longer period of time with Hygia being in the sign of Gemini. Okay. All right, so that's the Hygia and Sedna part that I wanted to mention. Also, Sedna is something to do with transformation, but also what it feels like for me with Mercury and Sedna, that certain type of secret informations are going to be leaked, or Sedna can actually represent sea-related discoveries as well. Obviously, Pluto is in the picture in the sign of Aquarius, so it's highly possible that we have got secret discoveries being made, potentially about betrayal, contractual agreements, Gemini. We figure something out about our neighbors, siblings, and so forth. But also, it could be certain type of sea discoveries too, like finding a wreck, because Mercury is actually making a sextile to Saturn and Neptune, and Saturn Neptune is kind of like this shipwreck. So I can imagine such thing. I mean, the very negative manifestation of that is that, for example, a ship can be sinking on the ocean. But potentially the sextile promises that the lives of people can be saved. Now, the other thing that might be on a personal level could be important is with Pluto in Aquarius and then Sedna and so forth, do I fit in or do I want to be different? Both Aquarius and Gemini want to be different, but often the society stops us from it. It's kind of like, oh, it can indicate that you want to buy a new, like a kitchen, not necessarily kitchen appliance, but like a new phone. Or you are thinking about, okay, but I'm not going to be driving car. I'm going to use a bicycle instead. But of course, I mean, technology is improving super fast. So you know what? We're going to have a lot more talks about the flying cars and the drones, and Gemini represents car industry, but any type of transportation, so faster planes. And, we are hearing a lot about planes, bigger ones, Jupiter, or faster ones and so forth. But Pluto, for example, represents long-lasting batteries. So I can even imagine that something to do with the battery technology is going to be changing as well. And Gemini and Aquarius together is kind of like the brain. So the discovery in psychology, the discovery about the brain. I mean, don't forget that we only use 5% of our brain, so we might want to try to utilize a little bit more than that. Right, so healing brain problems, Hygia, as I said, it's a medical astrology, could be something that I like, that is going to be a discovery about it. Gemini Aquarius together can represent the nerve system also and how the brain functions. So we might see discoveries around that too. And Well, Gemini and Mercury are quite tricky. It's the Mercury is the planet of tricks. So also, do I believe this? Is it just a myth? Is it just again another social media clickbait type of thing? Or did it actually happen? So we're gonna have to be able to decide whether it's true or not. What does Pluto say? Do your research, right? And as mentioned earlier, often this is a situation when we're going to have to be able to make a decision. So choosing the less good or the absolute worst, which one to choose? And Pluto retrograde says be thorough, dig deep, do your research, analyze the trends. Aquarius represent trends and make decisions accordingly. I mean, with Mercury and Hygia also, maybe we have got this health conscious communication going on. So we're going to be communicating about health matters, wellness practices, preventative care a lot more. And I also believe that it's super interesting that Saturn is making a conjunction to Ceres and in this chart. And the last time when we had a Saturn Ceres conjunction, that happened in the sign of Capricorn at the start of COVID. Do I suggest or do I try to prompt that there is going to be another COVID? No, not necessarily. But we can hear about it a lot more on the news, or we find these informations about, vaccines and all those type of things. On a personal level, what is my thought process? What is my approach to health? You can be doing a lot of research about certain type of preventative health care. Or also, you can start sharing your knowledge as well. And there could be a question, who can share their knowledge? Is it just the doctors, or can I don't know, nurse share their knowledge, or can these holistic health coaches share their knowledge? There could be talks about that too. But also, Hygia in a way represents the body as well. So just simply discoveries about the body. You can become a lot more curious about how the mind functions, how psychology impacts the mind. We can become a lot more open to new healing techniques because obviously Pluto is in the sign of Aquarius, so that's an upgrade. And sometimes the problem with this that we might be trying something out and then tomorrow we are trying another technique. So there is this restless energy to it. We potentially might not be patient enough. That's where Saturn comes into the picture. Saturn in the sign of Aries. Make sure that you give time to that, let's say, healing modality. Now, Hidalgo in Sagittarius, as mentioned earlier, on 8th degree. The themes of Hidalgo is eccentricity, unconventionality, explorations and discovery. Another energy that is connected to discovery. So it looks like we've got these unconventional beliefs or unconventional ways of learning things. It looks like that you are kind of like an eccentric explorer. So we are seeking information in unconventional ways, discovering something by accident or not necessarily by choice. Obviously, that could be quite shocking, but I don't know whether to believe it or not. But also, it could talk to us about I'm trying to bring different cultures together. Like I try to mix the Western and the Chinese medicine, for example, because Hidalgo, it's kind of like bridging something. And of course, there is something to do with the freedom element as well. I need my freedom, and I'm going to be getting that, but in an unconventional way. As mentioned, we have got Persephone in the sign of Pisces on 6th degree. That's super sensitive. That is showing us a journey to the subconscious. Remember that Persephone was about, Ceres is the mom here. So we've got the daughter and the mom involved here too. And she got abducted by Pluto, and Ceres went through hell and fire and, flood to get her daughter back. But the mommy didn't necessarily realize that the daughter didn't need saving. So Persephone is kind of like the journey to the subconscious. And then the decision was made by the help of Zeus. Okay, Persephone is going to be spending 6 months with mommy and 6 months with Pluto. Obviously, the underworld and the earth. So it represents somehow blending two worlds together. In the sign of Pisces, it's about imagination. So it suggests a spiritual transformation. It's a transformation of healthcare and hospitals, the way the charities work and function, and also the realization of the power within vulnerability. Also, it's, as mentioned earlier, like it's the navigating boundaries between the subconscious and the conscious mind. We need to be careful because sometimes the transformation is idealized. And we might not be able to let go of that belief system, how things should look like. And also, how do I understand my dreams? Pisces is the representation of victimhood, and Persephone was a victim. So that's interesting because often it shows that we are struggling to claim the power because we are struggling with change or we are struggling with grief and sorrow or losses. And that's where our mindset is holding us back. And the Pluto Mercury, search for the truth, speak your truth, choose between logic and emotion. Or simply, why don't you bring them together? They must meet. The logic and the feelings must have a conversation. Sometimes what we want to do is we want to make sense of our emotions, and that could be great, and that could be, something that we shouldn't be doing either. Understanding how our emotions are impacting us could be super important. So it's kind of like trying to translate our emotions into logical explanations, but that can be overdone too. I think it is also telling us to trust our thought process, or simply you're doubting your feelings and thoughts. Which one are you? Uh, and we've got Neptune in the picture as well, as said earlier. Neptune, Saturn together is telling us if we can imagine it, we can actually create it also. So we're gonna have to start thinking this. Saturn newly ingressed into Aries, so action is necessary. Saturn and Neptune together, picture it, then plan it, and then we're gonna get there. Plan, Saturn, picture, the vision, Neptune, Aries, we get there. Just watch out because the mind can trick us, right? As I said, Mercury is the trickster, thinking that we are getting empowered, that we are strong. But Pluto is retrograde. So this topic needs to be revisited, or maybe this is not the right time just yet. We're just gonna have to build it up. So we might think that we can get whatever info we need. Sometimes we do that through tricks as well. Saturn represents the skills here. So we've got the skills even to trick others. It says that we have the skills to see things clearly, even though Neptune is trying to blur the boundaries. Saturn Mercury says, use your common sense, be logical about it. So we've got, the other stuff that you can do with this new moon is that you can go and meet friends or you can sign up in group activities, be part of a community, welcome new people into your life. You can get crazy, like a crazy piece of news as well. Censorship and free speech could be coming up. Am I allowed to say that? Am I not allowed to say that? Because Aquarius is quite rebellious, so we can be intellectually quite rebellious with this. Or simply, I want to be mentally liberated. Pluto and this new moon is says concentrate, focus, fix it. And because Pluto is retrograde, it is coming from the past. So a past issue that needs to be fixed. We get the opportunity right now, and it's going to be long lasting with Saturn sextile. But maybe we need a new way of looking at how to fix that phone, how to fix that car, and so forth. And often, because also Pluto is retrograde, this is not going to be visible immediately. So Saturn sextile to Mercury says, just be patient about it. Also, this could be Pluto money. So we can make money with this aspect as well. Making money by selling something, or I don't know, you have to send out your invoices. You're going to have to send an email. And potentially, maybe you get a really good response to it. You can send out newsletters. Simply, you can update your CV as well. Updating that CV, would I go for a new job with this? Potentially, not necessarily, because with Saturn, we might be experiencing certain type of delays. We might be getting a couple of no's. This should not knock down your confidence. You're gonna have to go for it again. Also, check how effective you are when you are communicating. Are you communicating with anger, or just you let the words kind of like escape your mouth? Or we are going to be a little bit, kind of like trying to choose the right words. You can meet people who disagree with you or show resistance towards what you have got to say, because we've got Saturn in the picture. How do you deal with that? Aries. Am I going to get angry and frustrated? Am I going to try to force something down on their throat? Or I'm just want to walk away from it, let them think whatever they want. This could talk to you about that it's time to take care of your siblings, or try to look at how the connections with your siblings are affecting your life. So, because this constellation could talk to us about that, I decided to put a webinar together about the siblings through the chart, and then how does that affect our life. And it's going to be in June. So, if that is an interest of yours, then you keep an eye, because I'm going to be posting that webinar on the website this week. But also, Saturn says set boundaries with them. Maybe you have to say no to them. Maybe you decide to cut them out of your life. Yeah, this could be a misunderstanding with the neighbor or with relatives as well. So that's possible. Altogether, it really feels like ask less questions, make sure that those questions are meaningful and the right ones. Let's practice the clear and effective communication. And then it should all just work out brilliantly with this new moon. All right, so I think enough has been said about it. Potentially, let me just give you the asteroid numbers so that you can be checking out where they are in case you need them. So one of the asteroids that we talked about was Hygia. Its astrological number is 10. So if you wish to check where it is, then you can go on astro.com, and then you type in 10 into the additional boxes, and it will be popping up in your chart. Okay, the next asteroid that we spoke about was Persephone. Its astrological number is 399, 399. And then you do exactly the same with that too. So these are the two asteroids that we touched based on. And then we had Sedna. So Sedna is 90377. But Sedna is going to be in Taurus for most of us. So first of all, Sedna went into the sign of Taurus in 1966, and then it just changed sign recently. In 2024 was the final shift, and it's going to be in the sign of Gemini till about 2067 or so. So it tends to be spending quite a lot of time in one sign. As you can see, it spent almost about 70, 80 years in the sign of Taurus. It spends the most amount of time actually in the sign of Sagittarius. That's 1,000. Yeah. But let me not talk about that. Okay. So now let's break this down for the 12 signs. So let's break down the new moon for all 12 signs. Let's get started with Aries rising sign. So, dear Aries, this new moon is going to be taking place in your third house. And this might be talking to us about that you're going to have to plant the seeds, how you express yourself to the world. Maybe you are about to have a conversation with someone. Maybe you kind of like just want to be heard because at the end of the day, there is a sextile to Saturn in your first house. And Saturn would be talking to you about, okay, you're going to have to take seriously who you are. But at the same time, you're going to have to be able to kind of calm down as well. Calming the mind down, it will be a little bit of an introspective period as well for you, actually. The reason being is because Pluto is retrograde in your 11th house. So you're going to have to kind of think through your ideas. Potentially, you don't need to be rushing forward, seeing or jumping into opportunities. Saturn is telling you that as well. Don't rush. Take a little bit more of a cautious approach right now. But it's time to actually start building towards a better future. So, what would I like doing, in the long run? And there is a question about that that you have to be kind of like trying to answer. Now, this new moon in your third house, as mentioned earlier, has got a trine to Pluto. So this could talk to you about that you are revisiting certain type of conversations also with your friends as well. Like maybe they are intense, maybe they are overshadowing you, maybe it feels like that they don't listen to you, but it looks like you're putting on your thinking hat and then you start thinking about your long-term goals, your hopes and wishes, and you're gonna make steps to get there. Maybe you want to be working a little bit on your visibility as well. Also, don't forget that we have got the dispositor, Mercury, in conjunction to Hygia, which talk to you about that you're going to have to practice self-care, mental health, how to feel better, how to kind of cleanse your thoughts a little bit. Maybe you have been a little bit more pessimistic and so forth. And the Saturn series conjunction in your first house also says the same. Okay, let's move on to Taurus rising sign. So, dear Taurus, this is going to be taking place in your second house. So, it looks like on one hand, you're going to have to be reassessing your self-worth. Also, you're going to have to be looking at what you value, what you hold as dear or kind of close to your chest, and starting to build something. Maybe you're going to have to build a social media channel. Maybe you're going to have to start having the confidence that you can have a kind of like a new work. Maybe you're going to have to be having a look at kind of like new ways of approaching your business ideas as well. Simply that Pluto retrograde can talk to you about that you have been holding on to something. Maybe this is a pain, for example, from parenting, family, and so forth. Because Pluto is in the 10th house, and that is one of your parents. And also, maybe you just need a better support system, for example, from friends or family members, but also potentially you want to have a conversation with your boss about pay rise and more support that you would like to. Maybe you can also look at your relationship with money, what makes you feel secure, and of course, what is my self-esteem like? I think this lunar energy is all about manifesting a better financial situation for yourself. And it's not just what we earn, but also how we enjoy life. And also, Hygia with Mercury, it says to you that you're going to have to be a little bit more practical with your money as well. Hygia is the asteroid of prevention. So you're going to have to look after your money a little bit. Saturn also says the same to us from the 12th house. We're going to have to start controlling a little bit how much money we spend. The 12th house is the house of expenditures. And potentially, we might need to start creating better habits around it. Okay, let's move on to Gemini rising sign. So this is happening in your first house. So it's all about potentially organizing your thoughts about who you are. Maybe you have been a little bit scattered recently. Maybe you've got feelings that you haven't expressed. Maybe you're going to have more of a serious conversation with yourself in a way. And the Mercury Saturn sextile is all about mental clarity. So gaining clarity about what I want to do in the long run with Saturn, Ceres, and Neptune and all those type of energies in your 11th house. And then this new moon is telling you that, okay, it's time to plant the seeds. It's time to start fresh. Pluto is retrograde, so it means that we are not going to be making impulsive changes immediately because it might collapse. What could be super important with this is that you go gradually. You revisit some of your old ideas potentially, and then you are starting to work towards it. Pluto is in your ninth house, and the ninth house is connected to opportunities. So you might even revisit an old opportunity that you haven't jumped on just yet. But also, what type of stories are you feeding your mind with? Um, it is giving you the opportunity also to be honest with yourself. So you're going to have that mental clarity. Maybe the honesty is connected to your long-term goals, whether it is serving you, not serving you, or are you happy with the friends, for example, the friendships that you have created? Are they giving you the mental support and so on? So this new moon is giving you a chance to start completely fresh. And that's why I like it. I would also say that potentially maybe you had a lot of confusion about what you have wanted. And potentially this Saturn Mercury sextile is giving you the opportunity to get that mental clarity. It is also telling you to listen to your feelings. Figure out what your desires are actually, what you really want to accomplish. And you don't need to be a people pleaser. You don't need to be dependent on others. You don't need the other people's approval. If you don't get the approval, then Saturn actually can tell you to block them out. Okay, let's move on to Cancer rising sign. So Cancer, this is going to be taking place in your 12th house. A little bit of a like there is an invitation here to slow down. There is an invitation here to do a lot of self-reflection. Maybe this is telling you to kind of walk away from a bit of a chaos, work on your subconscious patterns a little bit. It could also indicate that it's time to kind of like examine your dreams a little bit, looking at even your own fears as well. You get the opportunity to do so. Pluto is retrograde in your eighth house, making this super tight trine to this new moon. So something like the inner voice here. There are the hidden dimensions here that you are meant to be kind of like bridging together, but also at the same time, kind of like trying to like explore them, discover them. Also, maybe there is truth that you didn't have the courage to share with others. And maybe it's eating you inside out. And it's time to kind of reveal those. It doesn't mean, though, that we have to be acting on it immediately because the 12th house is retreat and seclusion and reflection and, in a way, finding your inner voice. Surely that's a topic for you. But I'm kind of like preparing for this big change that I am about to experience. And also, this could indicate that I'm going to be tackling my intuition in a different way. Now we've got Hygia here as well. So the topic that potentially pops up here is the spiritual health. And spiritual health is going to be coming from being able to let go of the past and doing a little bit of an emotional as well as mental kind of like cleansing and being able to build a emotional boundary as well. Okay, let's move on to Leo rising sign. So, dear Leo, this new moon is taking place in your 11th house. And it looks like it is time to have a vision. It is time to plant the seeds, kind of like gathering data and information about that vision that you need. You might get really valuable information from others. Maybe it's your spouse, a business partner, or simply just friends as well. And maybe it can feel like that vision or dream, hopes, and the goals that you had is actually kind of getting closer. Maybe you are not there yet. Maybe with the Pluto retrograde, you just need a business partner for it. I need to be collaborating. But this could be a person who comes in and kind of like empowers you, talking to you about their own journey. And then I feel a step closer. Also, potentially, this could indicate that you want to put something out there and then you need the courage for it. And this is why someone might be popping up in your life and then encouraging you that it is great to share. I mean, you've got this mini grand trine happening with Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto. So Saturn, Neptune, and are in your ninth house, which is giving you the opportunity to kind of make something available to a bigger audience. And that would be the 11th house. I think you just need to be a little bit more brave. And that's the secret here. Yes, this could talk to you about that you are having these inspirational conversations and dialogues as well with others. And also, this could be simply just an indication that I think you don't need always others to kind of believe in you. I think I think first it's gonna start with you believing in the self, and then when others, like your audience, can see that you have got the confidence and so on, then actually they're gonna start believing in you. It looks like you are meant to be sharing your passion with others. You have to be showing them that you have got something to offer. And yes, you don't need to do that alone. You need the connections. We can do it as a team as well. So that's why I mentioned collaboration could be a great way to go. And it looks like you've got the chance to do that. Okay, let's move on to Virgo rising sign. So, dear Virgo, this is going to be taking place in your 10th house, the house of career, profession, achievements. So, it looks like that your attention is turning towards your professional life and how you want to come across to others. And you're gonna start working on, okay, getting that promotion. You're gonna start working on potentially a new project, or you are stepping into kind of like more of a powerful role. Pluto is actually in the sixth house. It's kind of like leading, a group of people, for example, towards success. You are meant to be bringing something new to the table. So it's like having this meeting at work, and then I'm going to be making these powerful suggestions. But also, maybe it's just the courage. You need to find your voice to be able to kind of speak up about issues, things that needs to be fixed at work with Pluto in the sixth house. And Saturn, Ceres, and Neptune in your eighth house might be telling you that there have been fears there to kind of, to speak your own truth. But if you find so, I think you might get shocked and you might get some excited opportunities also. So for you, Virgo, it looks like work is going to be a kind of like a potential to reset your work environment. Maybe you just need to be very clear about what you want. Maybe you have to be making actually a decision whether I want to stay at this workplace or I want to start something new. Now, that could be also a potential. Saturn and Pluto retrograde do tell you, though, don't try to make a huge change. Just go step by step. That's going to lead to achievements, promotions, recognitions, and so forth. So it might be just a good 5, 6 months down the line, but you can be on the right road. Okay, let's move on to Libra rising sign. So, dear Libra, this new moon is taking place in your ninth house. And the ninth house is connected to opportunities, travel, spirituality, and your horizon. This new moon is inviting you to open up your horizon, to open up your mental kind of like antennas, pick up on, what others are telling you, pick up on the opportunities that might be popping up for you. It means that you're going to have to be out there a little bit. In order for you to expand, you're going to have to make the connections. And maybe you have to travel somewhere. Maybe you have to explore new ideas. Maybe you have to sign up for a course and then learn something. Maybe you're going to have to be shifting and be more versatile or adaptable when it comes to your philosophical approach to life. I think, in a way, this is an invitation to step outside of your comfort zone. And for example, with Pluto in your fifth house, this is changing your belief system about your romantic life, about, that I have got a particular guy I like going out with. This is the type that I want. What if we upgraded that idea? So something letting go of the familiar frameworks and then going towards something new might be a kind of like an opportunity for you to create success in your life. And potentially, maybe you have got certain type of limited belief systems, limited thinking, and it looks like that the new belief system is about to come towards you. I mean, relationship is really highlighted in your chart right now with all the seventh house energies, which is actually making a connection to your ninth house, and then of course the fifth house, which is also about romanticism. So I can even imagine that you guys are planning a little bit of a romantic getaway, or maybe this is something that we kind of have to talk about. Make it happen. Okay, let's move on to Scorpio rising sign. So for you, Scorpio, this new moon is taking place in your eighth house. We seem to be a little bit more uh, inward focused. We are looking at, or we are thinking about potentially the past. We are thinking about how to express or have conversations about the past, about hidden taboo topics, something that we are ashamed of, or we are thinking about making changes in our lives. Potentially, we might not know how to go ahead with that. Remember that the eighth house doesn't want you to do things on the surface. So you're gonna have to be scratching up the dirt there. You're gonna have to go down, deep down, and then see where things are coming from. So therefore, you can have this mental breakthrough with this. It looks like with Pluto in your fourth house that things that needs to be kind of like worked through is really ingrained habits, ingrained family kind of like pain and drama, and somehow you've been hurt. And then it's kind of like rewriting your story, rewriting the past so that you can have a better future. I think it's also about making peace with people that I live together with, making peace with the past as well. Maybe these people controlled you, somehow sabotaged you, claim the power over you. So, in a way, this is an invitation to get the power back into your life. But in order for you to do that, you're going to have to speak the truth. You're going to have to tell them, where things went wrong. And you're going to have to set these emotional boundaries so that they don't step it over anymore. And then and you get the opportunity to do that. Even with the sixth house energy that you've got going on, it looks like that you can fix your mental power, you can fix your connections, you can fix the past. So I love it for you. Enjoy the healing. Sagittarius rising sign. So we've got the new moon happening in your seventh house, a possibility for a relationship, a reset in your relationship department, also a possibility to kind of like collaborate with others. Someone can reach out to you that, let's say, they want to work together with you, and they might be sending you an email, for example, maybe an email that you have been waiting for. From this particular person for a longer amount of time, but they haven't replied to you just yet. I mean, Pluto is in the third house and being retrograde, but also you can get the answers that you have been looking for. Like maybe, let's say you have been going out with someone and they haven't told you yet that they had loved you. And then with Pluto, we can be demanding, but also we can just find the answers within ourselves. Like they always call us every single evening. It does mean something, right? But also, you might need to be able to ask the right questions. Not too many, but I'm going to be asking a few, but very piercing questions, right? And also, what type of connections or how deep the conversations that I'm having with others. That could be also a topic. Or with the fifth house activations, is my love reciprocated? Um, is it a serious relationship or is it just a kind of like a fling? Potentially, we need to be able to get mental clarity over that as well. And it looks like we do have got this honest and open, sometimes a bit tough conversation to make with people that we love and in a way adore as well. I think having these honest, open conversations, but respectful, is going to create a stronger mental bond potentially with someone. Let's move on to Capricorn rising sign. So, dear Capricorn, this is taking place in your sixth house. It's time for you to get rid of some habits, to start a new health regime. Potentially, maybe, I mean, a friend of mine with a Capricorn rising sign is waiting for an operation. It's a open heart surgery. And, they have to be on a very strict diet. They're going to have to stay at home. And we're talking about quite a movable person who is unable to sit tight on his bum. So this is somehow, in a way that Sixth House is telling us that we get a new life. We get kind of like a new heart here, right? And we're gonna have to be able to kind of like appreciate it. We're gonna have to respect it. We're gonna have to take care of it. And then if we are told to stay at home, fourth house, then we're gonna have to do that. But also, this could indicate that, so this lunation is connected to your routines, to your health, the systems that you have created. And potentially, maybe Pluto in Aquarius is asking us to kind of like, let's look at those habits. Maybe the financial habits, maybe how much money I spend on, I don't know, organic food, how much money I spend on, I don't know, medical devices and so forth. Do we have to do that? Are there any other ways we can kind of like do that as well? Or having a look at your own energy level. Like why is the energy level of mine is kind of like escaping my body? How I can hold on to that, how I can kind of like redirect my energies. So in a way, this is somehow to make your immune system stronger. So looking at your well-being is going to be one of the most important things to consider with that. But also for you, Capricorn, this could indicate something to do with the work environment as well. So you want to make changes in the work environment, the way you work. the way you potentially treat employees or the way you are treated by others as well. I mean, negatively speaking, this could indicate that something is draining your vitality, and maybe that's a little worry about finances. And then Pluto in the second house would like you to upgrade the ways you earn, introduce something new in the service that you provide to others. Okay, let's look at Aquarius rising sign. So you've got the new moon happening in your fifth house, which is connected to romance, children, fun, joy, enjoying life to the fullest. Time to do those. If you haven't been doing those, because you had all these responsibilities with Saturn, for example, in your fourth house. Um, sorry, not with Saturn in the fourth house, because Saturn was in your second house. So you had all these stuff like trying to make money, earning money, being worried about finances, trying to build up your portfolio, and so forth. Then it's time to celebrate a little bit. Time to be doing a lot of experiment, to give birth to something, to create something, to have fun, being without worried, being without feeling guilty that, I don't know, I'm not looking after my mom today because I'm gonna go and do a bit of a bowling. This is also about like figuring out what you are passionate about. This is where passion and romance are super close, right? Because we love our boyfriends and girlfriends, but we also love like our hobbies as well. So think about what brings you joy. It is telling you to be a little bit more light-hearted. This is telling you to open up, to express yourself to others, to be fun, um, to be around fun people as well. And of course, if you are single, I'm going to be putting out myself, with the third house activations that you've got with Saturn, Ceres, Neptune, and all those type of things. We can make it happen. We can sign up on a dating site. We can go out with friends and neighbors and siblings, and then we can meet someone. Let them introduce you to someone so that you are not single anymore. I think it's all about letting your heart take charge. And last but not least, we've got, sorry, Aquarius, because Pluto is in around your rising sign. It also says to you that the change starts within you. You cannot expect others to change without you making small, tiny changes in your appearance, in your mental kind of like stuff also. Okay. And then last but not least, Pisces rising sign. So this new moon is taking place in your fourth house. And yeah, it is bringing your attention towards the home environment, family, or the past. So you might be focusing a little bit because Gemini is not necessarily so focused on the past. Gemini is often actually more focused and concerned about the future. But the fourth house says sometimes the secret is that we're going to have to dig a little bit deeper into the past. And Pluto is also telling us that as well. In the 12th house, that self-reflection is necessary so that we can create a better future. So it can tell you that you meant to be understanding your environment, you meant to be understanding the people you live together with, you are meant to be understanding how we get here. You know, like for example, with having that heavy second house matter, if you had been struggling with finances, it is originated from somewhere, and we're gonna have to have reflection on that. And maybe it comes from family, maybe this is something that has been passed down from generation to generation. I mean, potentially this could indicate that conversations are necessary to have with family members. Maybe we're going to have to talk about money, or simply we just need to heal those family connections. And we need to have a closure with Pluto in the 12th house so that we can finally move forward. I also feel like that, you know, like because you've got a home, right? You live somewhere. Is it really the home that I want? Do I feel like I'm living at home? And also maybe a little bit of an honesty to these people. Honesty with yourself could be a key to your healing journey. So guys, good luck for everyone, and I will see you in my next video. Have a lovely weekend. Bye bye.
Through every sign and every house, a journey starts and we allow the universe so vast and true. Astro Viktor, it's here for you.